Welcome to Exploring Anime with Friends, a JMO for Real podcast on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. I'm your host, JMO. And today's friend is my co-host, Ethan. In this episode, we will be exploring the world of So I'm a Spider, So What? A dark isekai fantasy with elements of action and comedy released in January of 2021. For the next 20 to 25 minutes, we will be exploring the first season of So I'm a Spider, So What? First, we will meet our Nameless main character. That's right, Nameless main character, and learn a little about her in both of her lives. Next, we will go on her journey with her as she awakens in the Great Elro Labyrinth. Afterwards, we will discover some of the other students who reincarnated in this world. Finally, we will explore the events of the world that lead us up to where we are at the end of season 1. And remember, if you like what you hear today, follow us on social media, linked in the show notes. How's it going today, Ethan?
It's going pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty decent, pretty decent. So this is going to be a very interesting episode because you read the manga, I watched the anime, and they're not all that similar, are they?
No, there's quite the shocking disparity between the two that I noticed.
So as in the process of doing this show, there's those certain fourth points are not actually covered in season 1 in the first couple of light novels. They're actually covered much later on, right? So they're not actually part of the quote unquote season 1 of the manga,
Yeah.
which is very interesting because I'm sure that also means that I got a lot less in depth as far as the actual personal development of the main character as a result of watching the anime. So, as a result of this, what we're probably going to do is you're going to go really heavy on the first 2 points where we talk about our nameless protagonist and where we talk about her journey through the Elro Labyrinth. And I'm going to go heavy in the later part when we're talking about the rotating plot and the other classmates. So, I know we give spoilers in every episode, but there is going to be for those watching the anime as opposed to reading the manga, there is going to be a very hard spoiler at one point in time. And I will make sure to announce it at the point in time when it's going to happen if you guys want to just cut it off then. All right. So talk to us a little about our nameless protagonist. In her previous life, her name was Hero.
Yeah. So, literally, right off the rip, when I started reading I Saw I'm a Spider, Nameless literally just dies. Like her classroom gets obliterated. And the next thing that happens is she comes to a realization that she's been reincarnated as a spider. Pretty quickly discovers that she is small fry in a big dungeon.
Yeah,
And
she watches her brothers and sisters cannibalize each other.
yeah, yeah. And then there's big mother spider that scares her off. Not too long after that, the manga reveals that it's an isekai, which I didn't know until I had gotten to that point.
Now,
And
in the manga, do they joke? Are there a lot of jokes in the early episodes about it being an isekai?
there's like here and there, I mean, they reference that Nameless used to play video games quite often.
Okay.
And so she'll joke a lot about her skills. Like the first skill that she buys is called appraisal because that was a skill she used in whatever video game she played. She right off the bat comes to hate it because she's like, "Oh my gosh, I wasted my points on this skill. It's not even doing anything." Like she would use it
Because
on
rock is
herself.
called rock and
Yeah,
wall is called wall.
and Nameless is called Spider, and she's like, this doesn't help at all. And then she starts to slowly like realize, oh, this stuff levels up. It is just like a video game, and gradually she comes into that kind of acceptance of like, this is where I'm at. I know my stuff. I'm getting better. I know how to get better at certain skills. Yeah.
I thought after watching the first 2 episodes that this was like a parody of isekai. Like I thought this was like the scary movie equivalent for isekai. So,
Uh,
but then after it got serious, like I mean, talk to us about some of the moments where it got serious, where it got real for our little spider friend early on.
I mean, the first thing early on, like I said, she's scared by what she calls mother spider. It's just this gigantic black spider eats one of her siblings and scares her off. And she has multiple like moments where she is like, I'm about to die. And, I mentioned leveling up skills. Well, eventually she levels up appraisal, and with it, she's able to know the status of her HP, her health. And there's a lot of times where she is on death's door with that. And, funnily enough, like this series has a lot of overlap or similarities to solo leveling in the way that it handles like leveling and skills and all that.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I would agree with that, though I've seen it in a lot of isekai as a whole. What are some of the early skills that she learns on in that? Like, I know early on, some of the stuff that really comes into handy for her is she's able to level up her poison fangs early on, and eventually poison synthesis is really a real game changer for her. So, are those things that are consistent with the manga too?
Yeah, she levels those up. She levels up thread manipulation. First, she tries using it, and it just shoots out a silk line behind her, and she's like, "Oh, I can't do anything with this," and it costs so much mana. And then, I mean, really quickly, she starts using that and making like elaborate nets with it. She starts like crushing enemies with those threads. So, among those skills, there's a taboo skill. There's one called heresy magic. The magic so far, she just doesn't want to touch because she doesn't know how to access it. I'm just completely overwhelmed with a different plethora of like perceptions all at once.
So in the anime, she definitely masters that skill before the end of season one. And she's actually able to master a few other skills that allow her to separate her mind into different beings to perform different functions at the same time. She holds on to the intellect mind while she actually designates the body movement mind to another parallel her and two different magic minds to two other parallel hers. So I'm guessing in the early part of the manga, that doesn't happen.
No, no, I mean, it starts to happen later on, but yeah.
But what are some of the major battles that she has to accomplish in, or the equivalent of season one in the manga?
I'll touch on some early ones because I know we want to avoid spoilers. So earlier on, she is fighting is like a frog. She takes that out, and then the first big threat she overcomes is another frog who like almost mutilates her with its tongue. It kind of escalates there to where the next big fight she has is against like a swarm of wasps that kind of trap her at the bottom of an area of the dungeon. And then a
So
big
you didn't have the serpent battle then.
Yeah, we had that. I got that one out of order. The serpent one, that was before the wasp?
The wasp one actually wasn't a relevant battle at all. That was just a quick like half-minute slaughter
Oh,
in the anime.
okay.
So,
Yeah, that one had a lot of planning in it in the manga. And I really appreciate about the manga. She's very meticulous in what she does. She's very careful, kind of reminds me of Ainzul Gon in that way.
same in the anime. As a matter of fact, I would almost say that she is more careful than an Einzelgaun, and definitely even a much greater strategic mind than a Rimuru. Like honestly, I think she's a really well. I'm just gonna say this right now. This is one of the more intelligently written anime, not anime protagonist, isekai protagonist, and one of the more, from the anime's perspective, more of the probably the best written isekai. So, and I know that's high praise, and I'm not saying it's the best isekai. I'm just saying it's the best written isekai. There is a huge difference.
Yeah. So another fight just to highlight is probably the biggest early one would be the like monkey war.
Oh, good. You did have the monkey war. Good.
Yeah, so she's traveling in this dungeon. Her home got burned down. So humans came in to her dungeon. She had realized a little bit before they burnt her home down, she had found a human who took this giant egg. She basically scared the guy off. He later comes back with his friends and they are burning her home down. She, at that point, her appraise skill told her these characters, these people are super high level. So she hightails it out of there. And in her travels, she's trying to get back to that level because she realized she went too low in this dungeon. And she comes across this gigantic cavern that has these monkeys, and they spot her, and there's hordes of these things. to the point where she built like this rocky outcropping up above and then discovered that they found out she was there. So, I mean, this just becomes like the turning point in her life, in her,
Yes.
environment in this isekai where she is like, you know what? I'm not gonna run. I have nowhere to run. I'm forced to fight, and I'm gonna do this. And she uses her skill. She uses all of her skills, even ones that she hadn't been using before, like the poison synthesis that you mentioned.
Yeah, really
And
masters poison synthesis. And for what that's worth, what it is, she can combine different aspects of her poison and she can drop it straight down into a target. And man, it is insane when it really gets going. It's almost like an OTK. But by the end of season one in the anime.
yeah, I'm curious. I need to see some of those scenes in the anime because in the manga, it's more like her planning is what's highlighted. And
The
then when it
planning
comes,
is very highlighted in the anime too. Like you see all that probably more in the manga, I'm guessing, because but she comes across as a very intelligent underdog who can overcome with very lethal doses of poison and strategic thinking.
yes, I don't know how much it sounds like from what you're saying, it sounds like there's a lot of good action scenes, and they're not really the highlight in the manga. It's more like, I bit this thing, it died. Yeah, so this monkey war, she's able to overcome. There's a couple of like elite monkeys or subspecies of monkeys that she stops, and this causes her to level up exponentially.
Yeah, and then also evolve too, because I'm assuming in the manga, in the
Yep.
manga, she goes through several stages of evolution.
Yeah, so this gives her her second evolution, and she really starts to grow into this like I'm a poisoner kind of role. One of the things I really like about it is how humorous it is. And
Oh my goodness, yes.
I have a voice in my head of what I think she sounds like. She's funny. I really like
And
early.
there's all sorts of scenes where it flashes into her like rocking out on a guitar stage or in her ninja garb, like
Yeah,
very vivid imagination, just a larger than life personality.
I was gonna bring that up too, is the illustrations are really endearing. Like her humor, her personality, and the personality of the manga or the anime is it's really entertaining. Like it really draws you in because she's very expressive as a spider. I don't know. I mean, just something about seeing this like preppy high school girl who was kind of a loner and she's running around like Naiwa like all the time
Yeah,
screaming.
always
It's
a loner.
yeah.
Whenever she's depicted in the past in her high school years, she's a complete loner. She's reading books on the side while everybody else is socializing, and she's not interacting with anyone. But in this one, you just feel like she's the ultimate celebrity as a spider now. So it's just kind of crazy to see that the 180. I'm not even going to call it personal development because literally it was just I'm going to embrace this because I kind of have to. Okay, so you didn't mention the Earth Dragon Araba. I will say this. In the first season of the anime, she does get the big battle with the Earth Dragon Araba, the big boss of the dungeon, other than her mom, the mother spider. But she does get battles with both of them in the opening season of the anime. And both of those battles are epic. The one with her mother is more like a little bit of war where she sends out all the troops and then slowly wears down. And then eventually that introduces her to a very important character that we're not going to talk about too much, but it ends up putting her on the side that she's going to be on in the future. And in addition to that, the battle with the Earth Dragon is epic, and it's literally the thing where once she beats the Earth Dragon, that's the proving point that if I can do this, if I can beat this big boss of the dungeon, Earth Dragon Araba, then I know I'm clear to go out to the real world. And at that point in time, she wins a tight battle where it comes down to a final hit left for each of them. She takes down the big Earth Dragon and she leaves and goes out into the world. So if you're already getting hooked, we recommend that you watch this for yourself on Crunchyroll, home to over 1,000 anime series and simulcast, both subbed and dubbed. The website is listed in the show notes. Oh, so I'm guessing the biggest battle of the first season equivalent for the manga is the monkey horde, or does she actually get to battle anything else?
There's a couple of battles she has after that, but they're not as highlighted. I don't know if you want me to say what they are, but then the monkey battle was the one that really took a lot of focus, and I think that was because that's where she really kind of it was like a pivotal like character development moment for her.
Besides that, what other major ones?
Yeah, it's just some like she was fighting she goes to the middle layer which is filled with lava and so she's fighting these like fire seahorse things.
Okay.
And then she's fighting some catfish and then
Which is her favorite food in the dungeon? The catfish was by far her favorite, right? Is that the same in the manga too?
yeah, it was like a euphoric experience for her to eat those.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of want to eat that catfish after watching her eat it. So,
Yeah. And then yeah, there's something about like the way anime and manga depict food. It makes it looks so succulent.
oh, it
Uh,
really does. So, meanwhile, while all this is going on, what we mentioned before is that a dragon egg gets taken from her early on. That dragon egg is actually one of her classmates, and it is a familiar of another one of her classmates. And here's the big spoiler, okay, guys? So at this point in time, if you don't want the big spoiler of watching the anime, it took me about 10 episodes, maybe eight, to figure it out myself. And it might ruin the experience for some, but for others, it just might make the first eight episodes more clear and easier to watch. I actually found out when I did the rewatch that I was very appreciative with the knowledge that I gained the first time around. So make your decision. The anime jumps around a 15-year period the whole time without letting you know that it's jumping a 15-year period. When you're watching this, her other classmates in the classroom, they're all 15 years old, and you're just figuring that she was born later on. No, all of the classmates were reborn in the world at the same exact time. So if they're 15, that means she's also been a spider for the equivalent of 15 human years. And by that point in time, by the time you're meeting her classmates, she's already out in the real world and she's already fully established as one of the apparent big bosses of the world, which I say apparent because there's a huge twist at the end of the season that I'm not going to be covering. Let's just say this world isn't as straightforward as it appears to be early on. And if you make any assumptions about who the heroes and villains are, I can't even confirm for you if you're right or wrong. So it's just kind of crazy and it's a matter of perspective there. So I'm just going to leave you with that, and I'm going to let you watch that play out. But some of her other notable classmates that have been reincarnated into this world, I'm just going to go into some of them really quick. The dragon was her personal bully. Her name was Faye in the previous life, Faye Rune in this new one. So she turns out to be a divine light dragon. They think she's an earth dragon at first, but you're watching her journey, and she's the familiar of Schlain, who everyone calls Shun from his, that was his name in his previous life, and he becomes the hero. Those are the two characters that you're really following a lot when you're looking at some of the other classmates. When our nameless protagonist is not actually the main hero, it's very apparent that Shun is the main hero, and you're following him. Another one of their classmates that came back, his name is Hugo in this new world, and he is Shun's main antagonist. So there's already some infighting. Their teacher who came back, Miss Oka, she is kind of dancing like she's very helpful to Shun and helping him a lot, but she's clearly withholding information about the other classmates, and somehow she knows what's going on with the other classmates. Allies that he has that are classmates include Yuri, she's reborn as almost like a priest sort of. She's one of the ones in line to be someone important in the church. And you also find another one, his best friend on Earth, actually got reincarnated as a female instead of a male. Her name is Carnatia. So you're watching all of this develop, and you're watching a war of sorts starting to develop between two different human kingdoms and between the elves and between the demons. And it looks like when it's all merging in, they're all just kind of the elves that are being attacked and they're being defended by the hero and his team of people. And it looks like the demon lord army is controlling the church and Hugo. our other hero, Shun, starts to question. It's like, am I on the right side? And one of the things that they realize is that our other hero, Nameless, she is actually on the side that is attacking the elf village. So is she good? Is she evil? At this point in time, you're wondering because the two that are painted as the protagonists are on opposite sides by the end of the season, and it's very clear that something big is going on that the students don't know about because they're not the big people controlling the game. They're just maybe some of them are up to knight or bishop level, but most of them are just pawns at this point in time. So, any questions you have off of that before we work our way towards the end?
No, I'm still trying to digest it. You introduced a lot there for me, just from how the manga was.
Yeah, because the manga, as you said, was just talking about our nameless hero, the spider, the whole time, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the anime from episode one is weaving all these stories in and out, and it's doing the whole 15-year period, which is crazy because you're thinking at one point in time, oh, there's two different spiders in the labyrinth at this time, our hero and whoever this big bad is, and it's like, oh wait, and finally in like episode 8 or 9, it dawned on me, it's like, oh my goodness, our hero is the big bad nightmare of the labyrinth. And it's like, but she's not because she's really just trying to survive and help herself and like she never is aggressive against the heroes unless the heroes attack her first. It's just unfortunately when she has the reputation she has as a spider that can think, that can use different skills, that's important, a spider that analyzes. It's something that's fascinating to some of the humans and terrifying to the others, and ultimately it's something that makes her a target.
Like what were your thoughts about like how this show was written and stylized around how she experiences this? Like, did you find her kind of like you said the Valley Girl thing to be grating, or was it something that didn't take away from that?
It didn't take away from it. Like honestly, her larger than life antics really kind of fed into it too, because she was a strategist, but she's also over the top. But at the end of the day, she's just trying to survive and make a better life for herself and make some sense about this world and make some sense about the admins and the moderators that she's running into. Ultimately, at the end of the day, she's just living her life and trying to make the best out of a bad situation. Any final opinions about this?
Just that I was pleasantly surprised with like how much I was enjoying it. I thought it was going to be more, I don't want to say hokey, but like I didn't think it would be as technical and as in depth as it became. And it's really nice how you were saying it too, like how she proceeds with these things, how smart she is and how she's written to you know combining her development and adjustment to this lifestyle and her tactics and her thoughts about that. It's something I really appreciated it.
For me, this is a must. If you're an isekai person, this is a must watch. This is actually my favorite isekai. And I know that sounds crazy because there's only one season of it out, but like it's as far as I'm concerned, this stacks up with Slime and Overlord as well as anything else. It stacks up with Sword Art and going on. And granted, I've only seen like a dozen or so, but this is my favorite of them, and I definitely highly recommend it. It sounds like you're going to get more about our character if you read the manga, and you're going to get more about the overall story if you're watching anime. So I think I'm going to read the manga to catch up and learn a little bit more about our nameless protagonist. So I hope you had as much fun exploring the first season of So I'm a Spider, So What as we did, and consider watching the anime. So if you like what you heard today, make sure to listen to us on Apple and Spotify. All of our podcasts are there. All of the J-Mail for Real podcasts are on there. Check us out on social media and interact with us there. It is linked in the show notes. Until next time, this has been Exploring Anime with Friends, a J-Mail for Real podcast. Let's explore together.